I want to ask you about these cool packaging things that you do and the releases you put out. And maybe tell me a little bit about like why you thought about going down this road to do unique non-musical items. And then we can tell our audience a little bit about, I mean, you can tell the audience about some of these interesting things like a pencil case, but go on.
Yeah. So, right. So I guess my X factor and little secret talent thing is like marketing, and I get a real kick out of it.
Yeah.
And so I've always been like a DIY type dude. And I just come from that era of physical goods and physical merchandise and just like going to punk shows and like underground hip hop shows in the 90s and early 2000s where everybody had something cool. And it was just like a little artifact, that you took with you. So that's always been like a key component for me with putting out music, and it is marketing, but I don't really think of it like that, even though I do, but it's just kind of just what I do. It's just like I like handheld goods, and we've come to the point now after doing it so many times, I realize like, oh, this isn't an accident. Like, okay, let me just lean into this. And like, what can I figure out now that we haven't done yet? Yeah. Yeah. So,
no, that's really interesting. And I like that you use the word artifact because I feel the same way, especially as I get older. I have things that belong to people who are no longer with us. And whether it's their baseball cap, that is really significant. And same thing with, like a test pressing of my favorite record, especially as it becomes more and more exclusive too, like if this is the one thing, that feels really cool. So I think that's important for labels to think about, is like that artifact. And sometimes it is just the CD, even if that person doesn't play the CD. I know that like not everybody listens to this podcast on YouTube, but I am holding everything here, and we have we have the seasoning pack here. I haven't used it. Of course I'm not gonna use it, but the thing that's really interesting. So that went with this record here, which is
Yamin Supreme.
There you go. Thank you.
Yeah.
And on cassette, which the cassette looks good enough on its own, and it came in a little lunch bag, which is great.
That's right, the little takeout bag.
And okay, so then we have this. Is this your project?
Yeah. So, as a label runner for Full Plate, I'm Dillon Maurer. That's me, Citizen. But then as my artist name, it's just Dillon. I was a very nihilistic young man in the early 2000s when my first rap name was about as backpack hip hop as you could get. It was Intellect with a K.
Sure, right?
And that didn't really survive. It didn't survive past the 90s too well. So I just put my Dillon in a rebellion, and now I'm really wishing I didn't. This famous German singer named Dillon.
Oh,
She's got all the. She's
coming after you. Got all the domains. She's coming after you. So
that project in particular is a collaborative project with my producer partner J57. It's Dillon and J57. He's on the beats. I'm on the rhymes.
Yeah.
And we're both born in the year 1983. Okay. And so I came up with this like Trapper Keeper type theme, and the album cover is an actual Trapper Keeper. I don't know if I sent you that album in the box. But it's
maybe on vinyl.
Yeah, I think
it's back over there.
Yeah, but it's an actual Trapper Keeper. If you look at it, it's literally a screen grab, scan Trapper Keeper, and we like copied the text. And so the pencil case was to go with the album as kind of like a pencil case for your Trapper Keeper, 80s vibes.
So this is funny because, first of all, I don't know if you know this, but I was born in 83 too.
All right, dude, 83 kids. Yeah.
So 83 kids are this year are suffering a very tragic birthday. But
exactly.
We won't go into that. But
no doubt.
So this reminds me so much of school.
Right.
it kind of almost in a bad way too. I'm like, oh man, I don't want to go back there. But so just for our listeners, what I'm holding here is this plastic, a pencil case that's see-through, like it's like almost neon green, very, very bright green.
Yep.
And
Matches
it's
the vinyl, by the way. The vinyl
matches the vinyl. Yeah.
Yep.
And it is well, it's transparent completely. And then it has like some Kelly green pencils in here, 4 of them with the logo. So the logo is screen printed on the logo of the artist and the record, screen printed on, and then the pencils are also branded. They're not sharpened. There's 5 of them. There's a sharpener, white sharpener in here. My kids are gonna love this, and then a neon green eraser. So it's like this whole pack. This is crazy. I've never seen anything like this.
That's awesome.
And so it really does add to the album, right? Because this is like 80s kids would know what this is. Oh, and by the way, you got the punch holes in this. Right. So you're supposed to put this in your binder,
official, right? It's authentic. Yeah. It's working pack.
Do you remember when you would get these brand new? They would smell so good in September. Yes. And then by like May or March, it was like scribbled on and it stunk and it was garbage. That's so funny. There's so much I want to talk about these products. and we also have, again, I'm just describing this all for the listener, but there's this other project where there's a cassette that comes in a takeout bag. The takeout bag is stamped, and then it comes with a little seasoning pouch that has a logo on it as well. So you can tell, like, right off the bat that there's just some really like wacky connections. We're not talking about like a cassette that's like a double cassette or a vinyl that has like a poster folded up. We're talking about completely left field ideas. So before I ask you about all of these ideas and fans' reactions and stuff, like talk to me a little bit about profitability, because this pencil case is legit. This isn't DIY.
Right.
So how does that affect the bottom line of like, it's hard to break even on a record before you add a custom pencil case.
Yep.
Let alone after. So talk to me a little bit about how does it affect like trying to break even on these projects when you're adding these extra things?
Yeah. That's a great question. We definitely try to minimize costs, and I'm definitely like a searchaholic, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm a couponaholic, and I do every little, I pull every string to get the cheapest, best product. But I think for us, I guess bundling is kind of where we kind of just make up for the loss. We have like our super fans that are going to buy the bundles.
Okay.
And so we try and make it a cost-effective product to add and then just include it in the bundles. And we're kind of known for like having these wacky, like we did like for my partner Paten, we did like a tea mug, and like we got our own style of tea blended for him because he drank tea religiously. And then we paired it with like a vinyl record, and it's like, drink the tea, enjoy the tea while you listen to the record. And the cost, honestly, I guess probably I don't care. Best thing, you know what I mean? And then we kind of work backwards from there. And it's like, well, if we're going to get this, what's the minimum quantity? And it's like, okay, well, we have to sell this many, and maybe we'll have to promo some and hope that big names, DJs or bloggers will get the promo pack and spread the word. And we just kind of hedge our bets against like having like a dope, fun product.
Yeah. And so looking at this, this 83 Kids project, okay, so I get what you're saying now with the artwork. Okay, I didn't notice that. That's cool. So your bundle is so for the record itself, which is a green vinyl, it's $24. The CD's $15. The tape is $13. And then the back to school bundle where you get CD, tape, T-shirt, sticker, pencil case, vinyl is $65. So I get what you're saying. So you're saying that like, in a way too, like when people buy just the digital or when people buy just the CD, some of that profit pays for, right?
Yes.
the bundle and stuff that people. Okay,
Exactly.
and you looks like you do sell the pencil case by itself for $10. Was that after the fact, or did
Yes.
you make that available right away?
We did. So sometimes like the minimum on certain items is
Right.
a little higher than we want, but I held it, and it wasn't available until like a year after the fact.
Smart. Okay,
And
smart.
I saved it for back to school a year later. So it was like back to school season, and we're like, hey, we got these we had extras.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. So then the people who buy the bundle don't feel like
Exactly.
Okay. So, and the other thing too that I always think about, especially with vinyl, but if I were to do stickers or if I were to do pencil cases, there's a little bit of a loss leader to it as well, where you can give this to your local record store, give them one to give away on social media, or you can give it to a handsome Canadian like myself. And you know what I mean? Like, there's something about having, when you have to make 100 of these, was that your minimum, 100?
I believe so.
Okay. So if you have to make 100 of these, then, and you're only going to sell 55 or 60 or whatever, there's still like a lot of great applications with giving them to fans, having them at shows. Even just the fact we're talking about it right now is good for the band, good for the pop, good for Full Plate. Right?
Exactly. I see it as marketing. I see it as intrinsic to the music itself. And it's like just cool. It's something that people talk about. Even if they don't buy it, they know we did it. They know that's what we do. And that's worth something. It's valuable. It's valuable. And they're fun to give away and fun to hook people up.
Yeah.
It's fun.
I mean, I think it's so, I've never been sent a pencil case from a label. So you can have that credit for you.
I love it.
But it's one thing to give somebody a download code, which is sweet and everything, but it really doesn't like stimulate people in the same way that something like there's so many times in marketing and even in music production too, where like you need to snap people out of that trance.
Oh yeah.
Right. And it's like, if somebody gives me a record, it's like, cool. Like records used to snap me out of my trance because we never used to see them, like a new record, like a new young artist doing a record. Well, in the past 15 years, 20 years, that's changed. So now you got to snap them out of that trance again and say, here's a pencil case. Here's some chili pepper with your cassette, Right. So that's what I love about it.
I would say that exists in music in general, but then in the hip hop genre that we're in, and it's like magnified times 1,000, because not only is our core audience just they're hard, like hip hop fans typically are also practitioners. They're all like, the fans are also the artists, so they're extra critical. They don't want to spend $1. They don't want to. They just want. It's hard to explain, but I think I'm getting my point across. They're just very difficult to connect with because of how involved in the genre of music they are themselves already.
Well, hip hop is about the culture, right? The culture is more embedded in hip hop than I think in any other genre.
I would have to say
maybe punk, maybe other than punk.
And punk and hip hop, we navigate the underground hip hop realm. We're not mainstream like that, so we're we're more akin to punk music for sure. And the vibe at a show would be like we play shows at punk venues and dive bars, and like that's kind of that's what I grew up in. Sure. The mid 90s, late 90s, it was all kind of counterculture.
Yeah. So when a guy like yourself comes up with an idea to do a pencil case for an album, it's cool, it's different, but sometimes it just doesn't resonate with fans. So what's fans' reactions to these types of things? I'm using the pencil case as an example, but you've done other things like the tea and the spice. So, like, what is it about it that attracts those people, and how are they responding to some of these big chances that you're taking?
I would say I got to shout out the Full Plate supporters, the Full Plate family. I just feel like we're all like on a common ground together, and it's not so much like a artist and label fans. It's kind of like all an interconnected community. So I feel like we get a good amount of support. It's it's kind of like whatever we do. I just feel like it's like, okay, well, what are y'all going to do next? It's not extremely critical. It's not like, oh, you shouldn't have done that or that was corny. I just feel like we kind of, not that we can't miss, but that what we do, our fans will appreciate it and find the thought that we put into it, because, you know, everything is very meticulous. Everything is extremely planned out and methodical and deliberate.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome. So has this set the bar? Like now, like, does every major release from Full Plate have to have some sort of spectacle to it?
Yeah, something.
An artifact?
For an example, yeah, I think so, especially as we move into our 10th year here. We just did a beat tape instrumental project from my partner Batsauce that he lived in Vietnam. Right, he lived in Vietnam for a few years. And he crafted a lot of instrumentals while he was out there. And I was like, look, let's put that album out on Tet, on Lunar New Year. That's Vietnamese New Year. And I'm like, let's do like a lantern with it. Actually, the lantern was his idea. Okay. And then we got like the little tassel envelope that looked, and because it's called Dispatches from Da Nang. And I was like, oh, that little old school tassel envelope was like what they would have on like ships, transatlantic. You know what I mean? Like, so we tried to build like a little story behind it, but the story was already there. So we're just trying to tell the story with affordable little accoutrements, if you will. It's Full Plate, so everything has a food something. Okay. I think we're certainly leaning into that, and it just helps. It helps sell the tapes. It helps to make it more fun, and it gives the project its own other element, I feel like.
So just for our listeners, I mean, you can, people listening, let me give a little bit of Full Plate, FULLPLATE.bandcamp.com. They can check out what we're talking about as we're doing this. But the most recent release is these orange paper lanterns. And you say they're about 6-inch. They're really cool, really beautiful. And you talk about like, you know, the pencil case for me, like some people might use this. But for me, in my office, it goes my desk, it goes on the shelf. It's like, it's an artifact to be like, oh, that's a label we've had on the podcast. It's a conversation piece, right? Paper lantern's the same kind of thing. Or for some fans, it goes in their bedroom. Like it's actually a cool little decoration. Unbelievable. Yeah,
we had a friend, someone who bought the tape, and he has like a little dojo room. You know, he's like a jujitsu, and he put the lantern up, and it just looked cool and natural, like where it was supposed to be.
Yeah, right.
Like I'm in here training to the new Batsauce project, and I got my lantern, and I was like, man, thank you, like that's awesome.
Beautiful.
That's so dope. I got to show you this too, because I couldn't send you this, but this is one of my proudest things. I have a project called Garden Instrumentals, and this is a full plant.
And full plants.
And nice. It's an actual planter that came with a little disc of dirt and a seed packet. So I shipped my last garden instrumentals tape with a flower pot. So that's probably one of my favorite things I've ever done. I just thought that was top.
No, I saw that on your merch table. Hold on, let me go back to Full
I'm pretty big into gardening.
So okay, so now that this is part of your thing, I do see that it's sold out. That's really cool. So, garden instrumentals. Okay, so now that this is part of your ethos and like part of like what people are known for, like what about the artists? Are they guiding these projects in any way, and the products, or like I know that some artists don't really care about physical media. They don't care even about artwork. They're just about the music. So how do you get all of your artists to buy in? Especially when it's eating into some of their royalties.
Right. And I definitely break it down ahead of time, and I work with them to come up with cost effective, ideas. But I would say that at this point, people come to me for that.
Yeah.
Specifically, like, artists want to work with Full Plate, and even before Full Plate, before I started that, I was always like kind of like the merch guy when I was doing my indie stuff. I always had like a knack for that, and I was always it was just something I'm interested in. I get a kick out of it. So I would say like people kind of come to me for my expertise at this point, and I'm gonna come up with something, and it's gonna happen. Like it's no question. I think that's what I bring to the table at this point.
Yeah. Do you ever? I'm curious about the process. Like, do you ever fantasize about when your audience gets bigger, when your budget gets bigger?
Oh, boy.
You know, like I think we were talking with Warp about Aphex Twin's Blimp, I think it was.
Yeah, I remember that episode.
Yeah, and I'm curious, like, what would be a dream project if money was no issue and you could guarantee 1,000 units sold? Has there ever been something that you were like, oh, I would love to do this, but we just can't make it work?
You know, honestly, I can't say I have a dream project like that. I have reality projects.
Yeah. That's good.
I really can't. I can't off the top of my head. I could say that the next project we're about to announce is a dream project with cool. Dream collaborations. It's our biggest investment to date.
Wow.
It's our biggest project, our biggest thing. So, you know, what my dream would be, more than a project, would be a dream tour. Being able to tour the music is a bigger deal for me than, I feel like I've not mastered the physical projects, but I feel like there's a disparity. Because I love being on the road. I think I'm great live for whoever's listening out there. and I do have tour experience. I'm a road warrior. My dream is to have more of a sustainable touring operation. Sure. Doesn't even have to be, because the touring, you know, we got hampered up since COVID, and it's just really hard to move units outside of shows and outside of Bandcamp. Okay. It's just so hard. Yeah. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like those extra units, those extra couple hundred units that are sitting under the bed, that's what gets sold at the shows.
Totally. Yeah. And it's a little bit more margin too, right? Because you don't have the shipping and
all that stuff. And there's no, you know, USPS, like how many lost a lot of orders, lost a lot of orders.
Yeah. And how many are you selling products, like the bundles at shows too?
Yeah, I'll typically, you know, it depends. Like some stuff will make exclusive to online, just depending on what's available. And sometimes we try to direct people to hit the site and buy more. Yeah. But typically my merch setup is pretty rad. I'll have like a TV screen on my merch table with like videos playing, and like, you know, I've got merch grids and I have like an epic merch setup. I've always been known for having like one of the most official merch setups in underground rap.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, that's great. And I just think, going back to the online thing too, when I was thinking about these bundles, you talked about the bundles, and maybe tell me a little bit about the economics of them, because I was reading something a while ago, like if you have one option for people on Bandcamp, mostly it's digital or even just one vinyl, then the question in the customer's mind is, do I buy this or do I not buy this? If you have more than one option, then the question changes from that to, which one do I buy? And so it's kind of like having more options actually can, having too many options is paralyzing, but having more than one option can actually stimulate people to buy, especially when they're like, okay, $30 for the vinyl or $60 for everything this guy makes. It's kind of like, you know what? $30 is a tough pill to swallow. 60 isn't that much more. You know what I mean? Especially when shipping. Yeah.
Right. So I guess everything starts with the fact that I am a rabid collector. Yeah. Always have been. I'm a completionist. I'm obsessive compulsive.
Yeah, same.
Right. Yeah, I know. So I have certain artists. Like I have a vast record collection. I have a vast collection of magazines, toys, adjacent merch, whatever. I'm obsessed. So basically what I've tried to do is create that same feeling with our merchandise and our catalog that I have as a fan, and gotta have it all. You know what I mean? So like the bundles are like for people like me who are like, I don't care what it costs. If it's $60 and it's everything, give me everything. Because I'm gonna lose sleep if I don't have the cassette version. You know what I mean? Like they're gonna sell out. There's only 50. Like I need it right now. That's the way I am. I can't help it. So we're definitely trying to recreate that collectible experience and have, we love when we see people with the shelf full of our artifacts, and we have people that buy every single thing, no matter what, the day of. Like, that's what we're going for.
That's awesome. And I think that's so great when somebody, I've talked to a few labels like this, and honestly, I've talked to a lot of labels like this where what stimulates them as a music fan and as a consumer, they parlay into what their label is known for. That's really awesome.
That's sweet. Yeah, I think it's a great pattern that just shows the authenticity of the creators, and yeah, I mean, that's what makes the indie labels an indie label, right? There's no corporate monolith structure behind you determining, what you do to gain profits. So like, we're just doing what we like to do and doing what comes naturally. Until I'm forced to stop.
So tell me about let's leave the products for a second and tell me a little bit about CDs and vinyl and tapes, because I see that you do all of them at some different levels. What have you noticed to be working best with your audience, and how do you know what formats to do for a project? Is the default to do all three, or how do you kind of gauge that?
That's a great question. I would say that we're a vinyl label, and that our goal is to put projects on vinyl, but not every project. So not every project necessitates a vinyl release due to timing and cost. Mainly, we focus on our full vocal rap albums as definite vinyl releases. And then I grew up in what's known as the beat tape era, or, like producers, beat makers would have cassette tapes with all their beats on them and pass them around to other producers or rappers to try and make songs. So we focus our instrumental projects on cassette tape, just because that's kind of the niche of the genre, of the instrumental genre, is to be on a tape. And we're leaning into that aesthetic wholeheartedly. We've seen, you probably remember, there was a real thirst for tapes in the early 2010s. The hipsters driving their mom's Volvos all had tape players, and they were all buying tapes. And that was kind of when we started doing them in the early 2010s, because it was like, these are cheap. And we grew up loving tapes, and so, this is great. Let's do tapes. I've noticed a strong decline in tapes.
Wow.
So that's why we've tried to focus instrumental projects onto that format to try and push the sale of that inexpensive format.
Right. So
CDs,
you've noticed a decline in tapes in indie fans. Yeah.
Big time.
I've heard that.
Big time. And then also our distributor.
Why do you think that is?
I think that that same hipster generation of the mid 2010s grew up into their late 20s and stopped caring about that. And then you're left with the diehard collectors and completionists. And I just don't think there's enough of them to fill that same demand when you had more of an active retail from a younger audience. It felt like it was younger people. I have heard that a little bit. I think as well, and not to say that tapes are dead in any way. I think it's small. It's very small. It's a smaller pool.
It's a smaller pool. I can do 25 and easily sell out. But like they're not hugely profitable. And then I do 50 and I'll have a handful left over.
Right.
But I think too with tapes, because I noticed that too in the early 2010s. And I even remembered a big end cap at was Urban Outfitters, I think it was. And so I thought, okay, this is coming, this is happening. But I don't think that there was a lot of support for it from outside of the fans. I think that's what stalled it, is that we didn't get a cassette player yet. There is a new one now that's finally out. That's Bluetooth and it's lithium ion and stuff, right?
I think I'm gonna get it, bro.
Me too. I want it as well. Me too. But that came too late, I think, or it took a long time to come, and so we didn't have players.
Exactly.
And then also retailers, even the record stores who were supportive of tapes just couldn't give it the floor space, the display it needed.
Right. And my distributor, our distributor stopped distributing tapes. And that was kind of like, oh, okay, well, we're on our own at this point. So that was like in I guess maybe like 2017 when they stopped doing tapes for us.
Wow.
And so, it's been like, we've had to kind of refocus, and so we don't necessarily put every album on tape. So sometimes we'll only put it on vinyl to just eliminate the options and eliminate, because to your point of what you spoke about earlier, I think more options were better. I think it's kind of curtailing now. People are a little more streamlined. There's too many color variants. There's too many bundle options. There's too many this, too many that. Like, can I just get the black record? Can I just get the $25 and get a record?
I think records probably put a nail in one of the nails in the tape's coffin too, because I noticed when I did a record in the early, I think it was 2013 that I did a record. I think it was maybe my first vinyl pressing in 2013. And all these people are like, I'm going to buy your record. I'm going to buy your record. I barely sold any because like not as many people as I thought had record players, even though everyone was talking about, but now all those people do have record players.
Right.
And all those people buy vinyl as the default. Right. So it's kind of like vinyl has continued to go up, whereas tapes kind of just hit this wall where it's like, or this ceiling where it's like, listen, we don't have the players. I've also tell me if you noticed this with tapes. I noticed at retail level, there was like such a discrepancy in price that it was like online, it was like $7, $8, sometimes even lower.
Right.
And the major labels and even the major indies were retailing them for $19.99.
Right. Just gouging like.
Yeah. And like a Justin Bieber or Guardians of the Galaxy would be like $20, $25. And to me, it's like, whoa. Like, it shouldn't be that high.
They're ruining it.
It's kind of ruining it. Yeah.
And I will say, CDs just stink. Like they just stink. I mean, I wish they would sell because they're cheap and they're easy to ship and they don't get damaged or cracked or broken. Yeah. They're tanks. Yeah. But it's just so hard to move them. And we find too, like, it's so funny. Like if we'll put it out on vinyl, we'll be like, well, are you going to put it on CD? And it's like, well, you even going to buy it? And then we put it out on CD and it's like, well, are you going to put it out on vinyl? And it's like,
I know.
Well,
I know. It's so crazy. So, but you do CDs. So are you stopping doing that?
It depends. Like we did CDs for the 83 Kids project, the Trapper Keeper one, really just because I like the format of the art as a Trapper Keeper. I thought it would look cool as a CD. And our distributor was willing to take a good amount. And I was like, well, may as well just do it. Yeah. But not everything. It's really going to depend on the project and if it lends itself,
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, like CDs are.
We also, sorry to cut you off. We also included the bonus instrumentals on the last CD. So that's something that we typically try and do is take advantage of the format. Yeah. Since we have more space. And then make it something that is different. Again, from that completionist standpoint, if I'm buying the vinyl, but I see the CD has the instrumentals, and that's the only way to get the instrumentals. Nice. And I'm a DJ, knowing that I might want those instrumentals, and I'm like, I might just get the bundle. So we try and do things like that, whether it's a bonus track or something just to make each format a little more exclusive.
That's really smart.
Something like that, just to push people to. Because I know they want it. I know they want it. They want everything. I just got to give you enough reasons to push the button.
That's really a smart idea to put some kind of like exclusive tracks on that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, see, I'm with you with CDs and like The only reason I ever think about CDs is because people message me. I'm pretty sure I just have one guy right now who's like wants everything on CD. So, but at the same time, like if you do a CD nicely, there are some places in Japan that want them.
Yep.
There are some like 40, 50, depending on your music, 40, 50 plus people who want CDs. So, and at shows, like they still actually do okay because they're $10. And
yeah, and it's a takeaway. It's something, you know, at shows. Yeah, it's definitely a whole different ball game. You'd love to have them. They're easy to transport. They're easy to take on tour. They don't get damaged. They don't, you know.
I always hesitate doing them, but I really should look at the numbers because I'm pretty sure I could just sell 20 and break even. Like,
and then you have them for promo.
And then you have them. Yeah. So it's not like you look at vinyl and like how like prohibitive vinyl is to get into. It's like, why am I even talking about CDs? Just do them and serve those people, you know?
Yeah. It's affordable enough, you know?
I literally sold a CD yesterday on Bandcamp that was pressed like 12 years ago. And there's like 3 or 4 copies of them here. I'm like, well, that's free money.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. That's what it's all about. I mean, that's what catalog is all about. Yeah. And that's what, you know, inventory, you know, I'm always gonna, I don't take it as a loss. I just understand that the sale is going to come at a different time. Yeah,
totally. Okay, give me the history of the label here. We're talking so much about formats, but I mean, that's because you sent me so many beautiful records. But tell me about the history of your label, because you said you're coming up on 10 years.
Yeah. This year is our 10th year in operation.
Wow, congrats.
Cheers to that.
Yeah, cheers.
Gonna spike my coffee.
Sure.
Maybe I will. But yeah, so I grew up in Jacksonville, Florida, which is Northeast Florida. For those unfamiliar with Florida, it's not really Florida that you see on the news. It's the very top of Florida.
Right.
It's a military town, and it has a lot of New York and Northeast transplants. So it's a very unique part of the world because Jacksonville, Florida in the 90s had an extremely like East Coast New York hip hop aesthetic that other cities in the South didn't really have. Like it's not really a South, like down South. You think of like the South, like that's not Jacksonville, even though that's where it's situated. Yeah. It's really like a transplant town. So I'm giving you the context because growing up in that scene, it wasn't like growing up like in a dirty South type of scene, like maybe in Atlanta or, you know. So either way, my mentor and partner that I started Full Plate with, his name is Paten Locke. Rest in peace. He cut his teeth in music up in Boston and had transplanted to Jacksonville, Florida in the mid 90s. And he was a prominent figure in the Jacksonville hip hop scene, and was my mentor growing up and like my idol. He had a group called Asamov, ASAMOV, who made big moves in the early 2000s. And if you've ever heard of like Little Brother or Ninth Wonder, Ninth Wonder's like a major producer, Grammy winning, like they came up through the same cloth of this like Ninth Wonder, and their clique was from like North Carolina. It's also like South, but not South. Sure. But either way, Asamov and Paten Locke came up through like highly revered, you know, like they had like J Live on their first album, and like Ninth Wonder was doing beats for the first Asamov album. Mr. Lift, Acrobatic. These are like Boston icons and rap legends. All this was coming out of Jacksonville, Florida. So that's what I was under their tutelage and was like a fan of them. They were like a decade above me, and I was like the next class coming up. So I had made a bunch of music with Paten, and he was like my idol. I was so thrilled to work with him. We had put out an album in 2009 called Studies in Hunger, which was like my first, I guess, debut album as Dillon. We had Chuck D from Public Enemy on the album. Shout out to Chuck D. So we were like doing like, you know, like it felt important that, you know, we were making official moves. And so we had put this album out in 2009, Studies in Hunger. Then 2013, the label we had put it out with, a little small indie label out of Orlando called Domination, who was also at the time working with MF Doom. Unbeknownst, before he was huge, like we were on like labels with MF Doom and like Count Bass D in like the early 2000s, before everything kind of took off, you know.
Sure.
So Domination folded, and then we had the rights back to our album. And I was like, we didn't know what to do. This was 2013. It was a digital netherworld. Streaming was had got a foothold, but it wasn't really like mandatory like how it is today.
No,
I probably still had a free Spotify subscription.
I think it maybe just had come to America that
so it was like we didn't know what to do, bro. Like we didn't know like how do we get distribution? How do we get on iTunes? Like it was all relatively new. Like DistroKid didn't exist. You know, I think I had my stuff on like Reverb Nation. You know what I mean? Like to give you some context. So we were like, all right, me and Paten and I were like, we have the rights to our album. It's not on iTunes anymore. It needs to be up there. We need to like find a way to put our music into this new digital space that's being created. Like it's time to start our own label. We had been in talks about it forever. It was something we always wanted to do. My brother Paten is a musicologist, was a profound record collector and master of labels and knowledge of labels, and every label, he had like, you know, maybe 20,000 records, like his entire, he was a musicologist, like first and foremost. So that was kind of like, we're like, if we're going to do a label, we're going to do it right. You know what I mean? We're going to be cohesive, have a vision, have a motif, or, you know, thinking of like just Blue Note, Prestige, Impulse, Black Jazz, Stone's Throw, you know. So that's when we started the label in 2013. And so the very first thing we did, I don't have one here, but we put out an oven mitt with the Full Plate logo, like an actual oven mitt. And then we had a little mini USB drive, a custom one made of an oven mitt with our names on it and the name of the album. And on the album, or on the USB drive, was we remastered the 2009 version, and then we put bonus instrumentals on there. And then we also put, because we announced it in Thanksgiving of 2013, we put a Thanksgiving recipe PDF from myself and one from Paten, because we had come up with this idea of Full Plate. So,
can you like give us like a little offshoot here as to the name and the connection to food?
Yes, I should.
And cooking?
I probably could have started with that. So, I am obsessed with food, cooking. In college, I was a hibachi chef. If you know, like
I was just at a hibachi on the weekend.
Did they do Onion Volcano?
Oh yeah. My kids love it.
Mine was pretty good. I would flip it upside down and do the onion tornado. But anyway.
Well, dude, this guy was pretty rough. He was he must have been new, because I've seen way better.
Imagine an 18-year-old Dillon cooking for you in Gainesville, Florida. But which is actually how I met Chuck D. I was cooking for him. I cooked for him at my hibachi restaurant. Oh, wow. And I was like, you know, I got to get you on my album. Anyway, I've always been obsessed with food, and I've always kind of incorporated into my music, into my persona, into my day-to-day actual life and job. I was, you know, a lot of musicians are bartenders. I was always like a server, you know. Always, I get a kick out of food and gourmet food. Like it's great.
It's funny because a lot of people keep their day jobs separate from their label. They try to hide those two worlds from each other.
They just happened. There was no way.
That's cool. Good for you.
So Full Plate was kind of a name we came up with because, one, we're constantly overcommitting and doing way too much. We're doing way too much.
Double meaning.
So yeah, without a doubt. Like we're always, you know, Paten and I were both like marker board people with, you know, your 10,000 things to do. So, you know, it was Full Plate. Like we have a full plate on our agenda. Also records, we're going hard for vinyl. Like before it was cool. Like I've been putting out my own vinyl. I put out my very first record at when I was 18 in 2003. So, you know, it wasn't cool then. I grew up a DJ, collecting vinyl. I'm obsessed with it. And so when we were growing up, the ultimate goal was to have your music on wax. Like, that was it.
Right.
So that's what we're doing.
Right. Wow.
So that's the full play. Like the record, and our original logo had a fork and a turntable tone arm on one side. So
okay. Nice.
You know, yeah. So, but then also just a literal sense of like, yeah, you're gonna get food. Like, I do like dinner parties called Plates and Crates, where I cook like a 5-course vegan meal, and there's DJs spinning vinyl, and there's DJs selling vinyl. So it's kind of like this.
That's a great idea.
Integration of food and music that is kind of unique to what I care about. I cook every live performance. I have a panini press, and I make sandwiches every time I perform live. I've been doing that for 10 years. So it's like a whole, like when you see the full
I feel
play,
like I've heard of that before. I wonder if I've seen a video of that.
I hope it was me, baby. I'll send you a link.
Yeah. Man, that does sound familiar. I wonder if I've ever seen like a video of that or something. Somebody
my
posted.
Rap panini, that's what I call it, rap panini. And I make sandwiches and rap, and then I serve them to the crowd.
Yeah, that definitely sounds familiar. I think I've seen that. I'm gonna look that up. I think I've seen that before. That's it's probably you.
I hope. If there's another person, I'm gonna find them. And
yeah. No, I'm sure there's not. That's hilarious. Honestly, I gotta find that. Oh my gosh. Keep going. Keep telling me your story.
I'll send you the link. Actually.
Yeah.
But if you type Dillon panini,
so the food, I get the food connection, but like, and so tell me when things started to take off, and when you started to do these like special projects, special products.
Yeah, I would say that we've kind of grown our fan base, I guess, based on that. It's odd. Like a lot of the folks, I feel like maybe never opened the tapes ever, and they just are on the shelf.
Oh, interesting.
And I definitely feel like we have a lot of collectors like that. And then we kind of have some that I feel like are probably more into the merch than the music. Right. And maybe just more into the whole vibe of the packaging and the product. And maybe
are you okay with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Of course, I would wish that everyone would listen to the magnificent complexity of my rhymes. Like, come on, bro. Like, at this point, I'm just happy you're on board. If there's anything to glean from what we do, whatever it is, like, that's awesome. That makes me happy. 20 years ago, I think, though, I was much more trying to get people to just appreciate what I'm doing. Yeah. But you know, it's like, if you like this, then that's awesome. Welcome.
Yeah. I find as a music fan, there are albums I listen to on Spotify or Apple that I really love, that are really beautiful and serve a purpose for me. And then I look at the vinyl package, and it's either too expensive, shipping's too much, or it's just a black vinyl. It's nothing exciting. Yep. And I just think, you know what? I don't want to spend all that money on having something in my collection that's like not that cool of an artifact. And I'm just going to stream it, or I'll just buy the digital. Yep. And then the complete opposite happens where, the music's okay. It's not something I'm going to play all the time, but it looks super cool. And I might whip it out like once a year, put it on like when I have people over for dinner. But I'm so proud of how it looks in my collection. So to me, it's like, and I have everything in between as a music fan. You know what I mean? So I think that I'm glad that you're open to those types of fans. Yeah,
a little bit of form, a little bit of function. Yeah, we have to adapt too with the way our listeners want to appreciate music and want to experience it. And I think I just apply the way I consume just to how we present ourselves as a label. I found certain things I'm less interested in over the years. I don't
like what?
Music videos. Okay, this is great.
Agree.
I never have quite cared. I mean, I appreciate great ones that are over the top and artistically done.
Sure.
With storylines and all that.
Sure.
But I just don't care. It's not how I consume
I'm
art.
100% with you, man.
I hate that it takes up my eyes, my ears, my brain. Like
It's not natural.
Dude. So like, it's definitely a weakness of our label and myself as a artist. Like videos are my weakest link. It is what it is. It's just because it's not the way I consume, but I'm aware of it and I do my best. But
but why can't you just say we're not doing this? Why are you like pushing it forward if you don't believe in it?
Some stuff, well, okay, that's a good question. So I try to adapt based on the needs of the market. And I feel like listeners, there's a certain branch of listeners that if you don't have, specifically within the hip hop genre, because it's a very impression based, it's a very how you look, you know what I mean?
I can understand.
And it also, people are going to judge your authenticity based on the way you present it.
Right.
So, you know, if you're just rapping in front of a generic graffiti wall, you know, that's kind of weak. So maybe your music is not going to have the depth that the visuals are. So, and not to mention they're incredibly expensive if you're going to try and do something right.
Yes, I know.
But we've tried to focus on animated videos because one, that's something I don't have to stand in front of a camera and have my, you know, baggy eyes looking all and it can be done behind the scenes while a project is cooking, you know.
That's true. Yeah.
So we're trying to have something to at least say we're here. We understand that, you know, a lot of folks enjoy this medium of music. I can't devote all of our resources to it. But, you know, for my next major project, I have to do videos. Like, I just have to, because even like the producers on it and the guest features are so big that if you don't do a video with it in the rap world, it kind of like makes it like it's just like a fart in the wind almost, you know? I hate to say that.
Yep. No, I totally respect that. And I think also there's a demand for video just in our culture of like, we want to see things like people are, and every social media format or platform is like designed around video now. So it's kind of like, I get what you're saying. I refuse to do music videos right now, but at the same time, setting up a nice camera in a studio, filming the artist doing their thing authentically, you have to do something. So that's what I choose, or a live video or a documentary or whatever.
Right.
You have to do video.
You just have to. I hate it. I hate social media. We're of the same age. We didn't. Thank God I did not grow up with this. I feel for the younger folks out there who this is a part of the fabric of their life. It is not part of the fabric of my life. I detest it. Yeah. I felt like 10 years ago, like I was way more gung ho about it and like ready to do it. Like, oh, we got to do this now and this. And now I'm just like, I'm the grumpy old man. Like, I'm not. Come get these vinyl records from the website.
Like, no, I agree. I know what you mean. Brain. Yeah. No, I totally agree with that. And that's okay. I think that you have to kind of really have a good reason as to why you're not doing something and what you're doing better instead.
That's a great way to put it. And if we can't do it authentically, it is what it is. You know, unfortunately, I'm a one-man operation. So there's only so many areas I can focus on with Full Plate. And we do have a support team. You know, we have team members. But yeah, it's like we don't have a TikTok channel, but it's on my list of like 2023, 10 years of Full Plate. Like, what do we need to do? Like, well, maybe we need to experiment with a minimal TikTok presence. Yeah. Even if it's just bare minimum of displaying the catalog. I don't know. I've never been on it.
No, I understand. I understand that pull, that you feel that enormous amount of pressure for sure. So how are you measuring growth? How do you know, we got to wrap this up, but I want to ask you, like, how are you saying we are growing 10 years? How do you want to grow in 2023? How are you saying I'm happy with, I can visually see, I can see the growth happening for our label?
Well, you know, we're both fans and proponents of the email list. I think I would say for us personally, expanding the email list, because that seems to be the most authentic way that we can connect with people. Social media is fleeting, but email is forever.
Is working for you?
Yes and no. I want to make it work better.
Okay.
I'm always striving to make it work better. Whether that's, on my list, I want to revamp our template that we use and try and get some more engaging tactics from MailChimp, which is our client. Shout out to MailChimp, Atlanta based.
Atlanta based. Yeah,
that's right, baby. ATL. I wish, we're definitely trying to grow our YouTube channel because it seems to be a very sneaky. YouTube is the biggest social media platform, even though it's not social media.
I know.
And, I've heard you talk about this on the show before, and I'm always like, yes. I'm like chiming in as I'm listening. I'm like, come on, talk about it. Yeah. So we're really trying to get that to grow. And that means, getting more enticing visuals, perhaps. Yeah. And graft. So growing the YouTube subscription channel, growing our email base. And, I would love to see just more units being sold in record stores on the distribution side, because those are people who aren't necessarily tapped into what we're doing on a day-to-day basis. They may not be on our email blast. They may not follow us on social. But if we put out a product with enough enticing, whether it's producers, guest features, the art looks fly, there's always download cards in all of our vinyl products, because for me as a consumer, that will help push me over the edge because I'm a DJ. So I'm like, I'm not about to spend $40 on a record and then I can't even play it. Like in my DJ sets, I still have to go steal it off the internet or whatever. I'm not going to buy the digital and the vinyl because then I spent $50. I'm cheap. I can't help it. So that would be how from a I guess profitability side. But honestly, I just have one goal in life as an artist and as a record label. It's not even a goal. It's just I want to be prolific. That's to me, that's the only undeniable metric. It's not success or failure. It's just, did you just create? So that's my goal. Full plate to just have an extensive catalog and just keep adding on to the catalog. Yeah. That's what it is. It's the long game.
I 100%, 150% agree with you. And it always boggles my mind how I don't believe you can call yourself an artist if you don't make art. I don't think you can call yourself a songwriter if you're releasing one EP every 3 years.
In this day and age, I mean, the trade-off, Scott, that we got for technology, the fact that we don't have to go to studios and we can do everything from where we want at the highest level, there is a trade-off. There is a cost for that. And the cost is you have to be more productive with that.
That's right.
Time. You have to be your own marketing agent now because you save money by not having to pay for studio time. All energy.
That's a great point.
Stays, you know what I mean? So it's like we may have gained, and the sooner you become aware of that and stop expecting, like you have to know that you get what I'm saying. There's a cost that comes to digital.
That's so funny. I remember going to a studio 20 years ago and being like, we have 3 hours, do everything we can possibly do in this 3 hours. Right. But now I have a studio right here and I would never work 3 hours condensed like that. Right. Too lazy. Too distracted. That's a great point. Good exercise. I love that about you, about being prolific. Are you you feel the calling to be prolific as a label owner too, not just as an artist, like your own stuff, but other people's stuff?
That is what can give us an advantage or just give us survivability. It's just what we are. It's just the bare rawness of what we are is just create. And it's very much the wave right now in indie rap and underground rap. But we try and find a line between it where we're not just throwing out 10 projects. We might throw out 5, but they'll also have physical components and physical treats and other. It's not just, we're not just rapidly uploading whatever we can to distro.
Yeah. No, there is a balance there for sure. That's my last question is like, when you have these big expensive projects, how many a year are you able to pull off approximately?
It depends. It really just depends on the artist, and they've all kind of just fallen into place whenever they do.
Okay.
So, I have 3 on the books, like 3 full albums for this year.
Okay.
But if something sneaks in,
yeah. So maybe quarterly is kind of like a safe bet almost.
Yeah, that's a good estimate. That's a good estimate.
That's very manageable.
Yeah, like a quarterly big project, and then in between there maybe like a medium, like a beat tape project.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Or maybe a video.
Yeah.
Or
You know what? I wish I had kind of taken that advice when I got started, because I was kind of like, I was embarrassed if I wasn't doing more than once a month, and I think a lot of people feel that way, that they just need to quickly beef up their catalog. But quarterly, with sprinkling in a Christmas song here and an instrumental track here, or an EP here, or a reissue here, that's just really manageable.
Yep, and we do reissues as well. So we've done a couple now, 10-year anniversary reissues.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Well, congratulations on everything. You have a really cool story, and you have I like what you've got going on. I just think it's something that labels need to do. They don't need to copy you when it comes to like making pencil cases, but they need to do something that excites them as a music fan personally.
I think it starts there.
Yeah.
Man, thank you for having me, Scott. I got to give you your props too, man, because you are the man, bro. I feel like, I don't know, like this is like a dream come true for me. I've been listening since probably early 2020.
Oh, wow.
I've gone through the entire back catalog. I finally took the dive over the holidays and got the label, the big label kit, which I highly recommend to everyone out there.
Thank you.
The
That's
accounting spreadsheet you gave, that's in the free toolkit. I got that a couple years ago. Like, we strictly use that template still for all of our, like, that was the first time. Everything's always been in my head and on like yellow notepads and in like email threads, we'll just open this thread. But now I have accounting spreadsheets for every single project.
Wow.
In your template.
Wow.
So many
That's
tools.
really nice. Thank you.
Nah, bro, I'm getting real emotional. I'm getting emo right now.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to have to PayPal you for saying all this. I appreciate it.
Dude, you're the man, bro. Other record label podcasts, like, it's such a wealth of knowledge and information. And I know you're bringing people together. I always like go follow when I listen to an episode. I go follow the label. I get into the journey during each episode. So I hope that all you fun listeners out there do the same and follow Full Plate.
Go ahead. Tell me.
Follow us, baby. We're at Full Plate Fam.
Full Plate Fam.
Instagram, Twitter, social media, YouTube.
I think
PLATEFAM, like Full Plate Fam.
We'll put links to it. We'll put links to it for sure. I think that people are in our community are impressed and inspired by people who take chances. And making 100 pencil cases with pencils and erasers and pencil sharpeners with your project's branding screen printed on it. That's a risk. And I think a lot of people are kind of like clap to that because, it's like, I don't have a lot of us, like, we don't really believe in our projects enough to put our wallets on the line.
No doubt.
And it's tough to do. So I applaud that for sure. But thank you for saying all that. That's really nice, man.
Appreciate it.